Welcome to Confident HR Conversations, the podcast for HR professionals who know what they want to say in meetings, but they struggle to say it in English clearly. I'm Alena Konečná, and in each episode, we break down real HR situations and show you what to say and how to say it with confidence. How often do you feel that you are performing a role at work rather than truly and actually leading? We are taught to be professional, to be strong, and to have all the answers all the time. But often that perfect corporate mask is exactly what causes burnout and disconnects us from our teams. In today's episode, my guest is Lenka Vornhagen, an executive coach and vice president of the Czech ICF, International Coaching Federation. Lenka spent 20 years in corporate HR before realizing that true leadership isn't about fitting a mold, but it's about brain-based authenticity. Today, we're diving into why our brains hate faking it and how to find your true leadership talents and how to coach yourself through the moments when you feel that something is off. Hi, Lenka. Welcome to Confident HR Conversations podcast.
Hi, thank you very much. And saying hello to everybody who is listening us at the moment.
Great. So let's dive into our topic today, which is authenticity. Quite a big word for everyone, I think. And before we start with some practical things, I'm curious, what is authenticity to you? Because some people might think that it's like saying just whatever you have in mind, but probably there are other ways of looking at it, especially when we are speaking about authenticity in professional settings. So what is your take on that?
Yeah, I would say it's not everything what I'm saying or I would like to say, but it's more how I perform or react in terms of my values and my vision. Because if I do not live my values, I play roles, and I'm sure that we come to it later, then it's not first authentic, and it causes us some issues.
You mentioned that it causes some issues. What can happen when we act in contradiction with those values, as you mentioned?
Because the natural brain behavior is that he takes our values, also our natural talents, and if we do not live it or we do not perform according to it, then the brain goes into inner conflict, and then it usually happens that or the conflict means stress, and what usually happens is that we have low energy, we are disconnected, we go to decision fatigue, or sometimes at the very end can be the burnout.
Mm-hmm. So that sounds quite serious. If we can't act the way that is aligned with our values, it can lead to serious consequences. But I can imagine that many people feel that they're not really able to be authentic in that workplace. So I'm curious from your experience, because you've worked with many leaders, how to navigate this, and how do you help people to perform more in align with their values?
Okay, I would say, first of all, it's a paradox because the organizations want authentic leaders. But at the same time, many leaders feel that they must perform a role for the organizations to be recognized, to be maybe to be recognized as a perfect leader, to be seen, to feel accepted. And how to be authentic. I think first of all, we have to stop, which we always do with the clients, and to think about what are my values, because we live very fast these days, or I would say these times. We live on a autopilot, which means sometimes we do not really think about what would be the next step, and we just do it automatically, as well as our thoughts goes or comes automatically. And first, we need to stop and to have a look which values are most important for me, for my life, for my performance, for my, in this case, I would say even the role, but I have to know which are my values. So first, to learn what is important. And second, and this sometimes is very painful for some managers, if they recognize that their values are not equal to the values of the company they are in. And then there is becoming issue, what to do with it. But answer your question first, to stop and to have a look, which are my values. It's a very first step.
Mm-hmm. So some sort of a self-exploration, taking time to look inside.
Exactly. And from the experience with the managers, sometimes it's not a question for one day, or maybe even for 1 week. And somebody, I always say, you have living paper when you make the notes, because you can come back to it once your brain serves you the first attempts, what might be most important for you. And then you come in 1 week and say, hey, there is another one. Or maybe in 2 weeks, or maybe the first one, what I thought, it's the most important, it's not the one, and I have another one. So it's really work with yourself, really to recognize the most important things for yourself, and to write it down and to work with it long term.
Mm-hmm. It's not a situation. I mean, it's not about just asking ourselves a simple question. We can take time, maybe repeating the process as we go deeper. Imagine one challenging situation of people who realize during this exploration that their values is not aligned with the values of the company. Is it possible? I mean, what does it mean for a person who finds themselves in a situation where they are, as you mentioned, expected to play a role, but the role just doesn't fit their values? Is there a possibility to live in this dissonance, or what do you think?
It's a question. Short term, everything is possible. But long term, if you imagine, I mean, and it differs from person to person. Somebody can survive 1 year, somebody 2 years, somebody 5 years, perhaps. And somebody would say, oh, I do not want to live it anymore, and I need the change right now. And I always, what we always have a look at with the clients is that we have a look how long we are already in, why, what is the purpose we are still in, because sometimes, it's for whatever reason, no go to change the situation right now. But also a question, how long do I still want to stay in the role? Or am I able to stay in the role? Because as I mentioned at the beginning, that if we do not use the talents, and there I would maybe make a stop with the talents, because sometimes we are so much tired, and we are not tired because we do too much, but because we do not use our talents properly. Yeah. And So it's a question, maybe I'm playing a role and my values are not the same ones as the company ones. But if I'm using the talents, at least, I can recharge my batteries. I have something which makes me joyful. I have something pleasant at work still, and it can balance a bit. But if I do not use the talents and I'm not uh, on the same level with the values, then it's a question really for a short-term period before something will stop us.
Okay. Well, you mentioned something very interesting, that sometimes we experience some symptoms like feeling tired, something is off. And this might be an opportunity or kind of a whistleblower for ourselves, that we need to look at what we're actually doing and how we're using, as you mentioned, our talents. Right. Well, if we want to look at how a person can go from this feeling of something is often off, and I want to explore this further, I want to see what is happening so that I can make a decision as to where I go from here. Let's create or let's have a little demonstration of how or how this can look like in self discovery conversation, or not discovery, but yeah, self exploration. I think is better. What will happen now is that I will be a kind of a lost leader, or a person who's questioning their maybe place or their feelings. They're experiencing some discomfort in different situations, but they're not sure yet what could be behind it and what they should do with it. And you will be here to guide me as a kind of an inner coach, which can also happen in a coaching setting. Is that correct?
We can try so. Just to mention, perhaps before we start, that it's really individual. And when working with a client, so just maybe to say what the answers will be cannot be taken as a general for everybody. It's just kind of inspiration. But then in the real work with the client, then we go very individually, and the question might be, or even, yeah, the question might be very different.
Yeah, right. Of course, it all starts with the questions, and having someone to have a dialogue with. I guess it's very useful also for the kind of um exploration. All right. Well, let's see how let's see what it can look like. And I have three situations here. And in one situation, I'm kind of doubting myself, because usually when I'm in a high level meeting, I feel like I have to have the right answer, but sometimes I don't know the right answer. But I don't know how to express this, because if I admit that I'm uncertain, that I don't have the right answer, maybe they will see me as incompetent, someone who's not fit for the role. Right. Where do I go from here?
You are not alone. It's quite a lot of cases like that we are afraid to enter, or not to or to say just I don't know. Yeah. And instead of maybe asking yourself, how do I look competent, or how can I look competent? Maybe you can ask question like, how can I contribute my perspective to this discussion? And then that question can take your brain in from the defense mode more into the collaboration mode. So it can think more what could be the answer, instead of panicking, oh, what should I answer right now? And the answer could be just, that's important, interesting question, or important question. And I do not have the answer right now, but there is one perspective we could explore later, for example. And the authenticity right now means that I'm able, I'm vulnerable, and I'm able to say, hey, guys, I don't know at the moment, but.
So allowing ourselves, or myself in this case, not be perfect and being transparent.
Exactly. Because, and there would be another chapter maybe, perfectionism is another issue what we are fighting usually with, and that's exactly how we can avoid it.
I'm thinking that this must look like a huge step for some people who just never felt comfortable sharing or being this transparent and saying, yeah, I don't actually have the answer right now. Do you have any advice or trick for people to make just a tiny step towards being more comfortable with this?
Oh, to take that action, for example, yeah, to say that they do not know. First, maybe to realize that it's not a sign of weakness, yeah, and it's a sign of maturity and of the authentic leadership, because even leader is a person, is a human being, and sometimes we do not know everything, and so first to realize that, and second, I can ask myself with further questions like, what do I actually know in this moment, just for myself, not loud, or what kind of question can move me forward?
Mm-hmm.
And allow myself with the time, because we are usually educated to answer right now. Question, answer. You do not know? Okay, bad luck. And just to allow yourself to take a time, maybe deep breath, before you answer whatever you need to answer. Either, I don't know, sorry, I have to have a look, I will think about, I will come back later. Or just to allow the time for yourself, for your inner question, what question could move me forward in this conversation, for example.
I like that you mentioned that we're trained to react fast, right? And we perceive speed in fast speakers as more competent speakers. I mean, some of us do, but it's not the case, is it? I mean, creating a space where everyone can slow down to take the time to think, I think it creates more space for competence even.
Yeah, it's also, as a leader, you have usually a team. And for the team members, the speed is, okay, sometimes we need the quick answers, right? But when you are in the, for example, creative mode, or you need to find solution in the team, then you have, as a leader, to create the space first, which is confident, second, which is safe. And safe means also I have time to think about and to answer.
Right. And by by modeling this safety, by saying that the leader also doesn't know, and it's safe for the leader to say that, it's safer for the rest of the team to also.
Exactly.
Yeah. Excellent. Love that. Let's go to the second scenario, where it's something that you mentioned earlier. So I feel exhausted by the end of every day. It's just I'm really doing everything. I'm crossing everything on my to-do list, but it doesn't feel like me. I feel like I have to role play so hard, playing a character. To be the leader they expect me to.
Yeah, because performing role consumes energy. And what I mentioned earlier also, if I do not use my talents, it also takes my energy down. So maybe I can ask my brain, am I using my talents or just surviving? And the second question could be, even if I do use my talents, am I just playing the role or am I using the talents? And am I authentic?
How do
Because,
yeah.
sorry.
I'm just curious, how do we recognize that we're using talents?
When we use the talents, it's something which is natural for us. We do not have to take that much energy for it. It just comes so naturally. We sometimes lose the time. Um, you know, I'm sure that, and perhaps anybody who is listening to us, if you do something really you like, then sometimes you are forgetting the time. You are just in the flow. And it's so easy that it goes so well. And also it brings us a lot of joy. And if you compare, if you should do something which is not really your cup of tea, then sometimes you have to really convince your brain so long to start, not to procrastinate, that you feel the difference.
Hmm. Okay. And I can imagine that many people have to do things that they don't really enjoy at their work, but it's more maybe about the ratio, like how often am I experiencing this flow joy state?
Yeah, of course. Even if you use your talents, and sometimes you have to do some activities at work or at home, wherever else, that you do not really like, but it's a must. And sometimes it's a must to maybe perform better in my talents, to develop my talents. So um, the right thinking in that case is to find the balance again. I have to have on one side the using the talents, which brings me the joy, and to have the energy for the stuff I do not like that much, but I must do.
Okay, so it's like the way to recharge ourselves to do what's necessary, maybe to grow as well. That's interesting viewpoint that also developing our talents may not come with a flow and this joy every time. Hmm. All right. Now let's go to the third scenario. And this is about the dynamic between the leader and the team again. And how personal can the leader get when it comes to the relationships? Right? Because some leaders, or let's say in this scenario, I'm the leader, and I'm worried that if I share my personal struggles, or I care about my team's personal struggles, they will stop taking me seriously as a manager. I feel that I'm in this kind of a role where I need to maintain some professional boundaries. Um, but yeah, it just feels weird.
Mm. Yeah. The brain all the time monitors how we appear, what we say, how the others perceive us. And that also give us a kind of energy back. And when we are in the role model, or of in the when we are talking about authentic leadership, we also have to show that we are the human beings. We can show the respect. We can show humanity. We can show openness, and also the vulnerability. Because if we do that, it activates our trust system in the brain, and then we can set up the foundation for a strong team, because we are in the leading role for the team, or role model for the team. And if we allow us to show that, then the team also, or the team members can also be more authentic.
Hmm. Yeah, but going back to the role modeling of what is safe to express in the team, right? Which makes a lot of sense. I think that what some leaders might be worried about is that if I know about my team's personal struggles, it will be difficult for me to maintain the professional relationship, right? So where's the balance between being a friend and understanding and being a boss in wanting you to do the job?
It's again about the self-knowledge, how deep I know myself, what is still okay for me, what is not okay for me, where I have my borders, where I already either let the others cross my borders or I'm crossing the borders. When I make the pressure to myself and when I'm still okay. So I would say it's again the long process where we can ask questions to ourselves, maybe even to write it down again and to, during the time or during some period, to be noticing what's happening if I do step forward or backwards. So what happens? Because if I do not do that, I usually do not find out if it was right or not.
Mm. Okay, so it's not an easy yes or no question, but the boundary can be flexible.
I would say there could be stop,
Mm-hmm.
this, and ask,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
So observing what's happening, what's the impact.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So maybe for those leaders who are afraid to show themselves more as people, as persons, it can be an encouragement that they can just try it, and then if they need to change, they can, right? It's not like once they make a mistake, it will be never repaired.
Yeah. Or once they have some setup, they cannot change it. And maybe I would have one tip for somebody who really does not know. Maybe you have somebody who is your role model in the authentic leadership. And then you can ask yourself in these situations where maybe you do not know if the balance is the right one for you. Just to start with, what would your trusted leader would do in the same situation, for example?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It sounds but the observation is key to ourselves and to others, right? Seeing what we or what people do and what impact it creates on the relationships, on the situations. Mm. All right. Well, thank you so much for unwrapping these scenarios with me. And as you mentioned, right, it could be different for everyone depending on the context. But what I heard from you, the key here is to take the time to stop, to observe what's happening in us and outside of us, and where we want to ask some questions about what in what way are we using the talents, in what way are we authentic, and in what way it might be draining us or exhausting us. And I'm curious if you could, you mentioned some tips that we could do, like stopping, breathing before reacting, making sure that um, we are maybe more mindful. But do you have any other exercise or anything else that people can do when they want to connect more with authenticity?
Mm. Um, the best is again to stop, notice, no, to do such a, somebody does it daily, somebody does it weekly, self-reflection that I can, at the end of the day, I can ask myself, like, when I was most authentic today, which maybe were the situations where I was really authentic. And on the other hand, where I wasn't, maybe what was missing, what I would need to do different next time. And also to notice when was I performing a role and when I was really authentic. And maybe just because we always use in the coaching, we use that the first action should be the smallest step I can do. Also that we can create the sustainable change. And for the brain is the easiest step. So maybe just what could I do the 10% better next time to be more authentic?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so really go with small steps, because I can imagine that for people who have been feeling stuck for a long time, it can be very difficult to first even notice those moments where they actually felt authentic. So maybe having patience and persevering and being gentle with ourselves may be important.
Exactly, being gentle. I would I would really underline, because sometimes as we are focused on the speed and on the result, we are not really gentle with ourselves. And to find all the answers to the questions which were asked today, or which we can ask ourselves, we just need to stop and to be gentle. And we are not perfect.
So frustrating. But yeah, that's our difference from the robots and the AI so far.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective, Lenka, and your experience from working with many leaders in tough situations. I can imagine these might not be easy conversations, especially once people find themselves on a crossroad where they have to make a decision so that they can live more authentic lives. So thank you for that. And for our listeners, how can they find you? Because you have few projects. So where is best to hear and see and read more about you?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you also for inviting me. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on my webpage, lenkavornhagen.cz. And you can also find me and my colleague on Spotify, where we perform a podcast called Myšlenky, thoughts. Unfortunately for our listeners, it's in Czech so far. But there we share experience from our practice, from our personal life, from development overall. And there are different topics from our practices with the clients as individuals as well as with the teams. So
Excellent. Thank you for the tip, for the recommendation, and best luck in with your projects. Before your next HR meeting, notice where you hesitate. Is it vocabulary, structure, or confidence under pressure? If you want clarity on what's actually blocking you and what you can do with it, take the HR Communicator Diagnostic in the description. It is free, it takes 3 minutes, and it shows you where to focus first.